Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a special online event today called 3 Steps to Clearing Other People's Energy and Setting Healthy Boundaries. Daily energy practices for empaths to stay centered, calm, and in their power. My name is Stephen Dine. I'm the president and CEO of the Shift Network, and I'm really delighted to be with you here, learning right alongside with you from a remarkable teacher. Her name is Wendy Rosa, and she offers training for people in spiritual and personal growth, and particularly for people who want to develop their intuition in a more sophisticated way and clear the energy blocks and really experience personal transformation from that. And today's program is really focused particularly on people who self-identify as empaths. You may not use that term, but who feel more sensitive, who are more intuitive, more tapped into other people's energy, and often experience some negative side effects from that. So today is a lot about experiencing the positive side and liberating more of the positive gifts by getting clear about how you work with energy and fields. We recently ran a 16-week program with Wendy called The Next Level of Intuitive Healing. And because we felt so great about this program, we're also going to be offering an upcoming new program with her that you'll learn a bit about towards the end of today's hour. So, Wendy, what a pleasure and honor it is to host you here today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Stephen. It's an honor. Thank you.
Great. Well, we're going to have this hour with Wendy. As I mentioned, we'll talk a little bit towards the end of the hour about Wendy's new upcoming 7-week program called Energy Training for Empaths. But you were going to hear more about that soon. So, Wendy, let's start with, why is this work so important? You know, we have a lot of people who are starting to open up more psychically, or maybe born that way. But as we evolve, we actually get more permeable and sensitive, and that comes with some pitfalls.
Absolutely. And I like how you said that as we evolve, people become more sensitive. And as consciousness is rising so much right now, we have such a duality, a split on the planet of, shadow and light, and people are becoming sensitive, but also, people's stuff is coming to the surface too. And in that, a lot of people, especially in my experience as a healer, with people ranging from teachers to business professionals to caregivers of all ages, are having this experience of feeling and absorbing and taking on the energy of others. So this has just been a powerful theme lately that I certainly have been hearing from a lot of people.
Great. Well, I know it's certainly a big theme in our network. And before we go further, I forgot we wanted to actually open with a sacred space setting, so that we really, I think of these as like we're communing in a very deep way. We're learning, we're opening, we're getting deep practices for our transformation, but we're also creating a field of connection. So why don't you bless us with more of a prayerful invocation or energy, setting the energy field for us.
That sounds great. Okay, so let's go ahead together and close your eyes. And take some deep breaths, bringing your inhales all the way down into your belly. So you're inhaling into your belly, you're exhaling completely. And as we all arrive here in this present moment, in this sacred space, the sacred container where you're going to be learning, not just cognitively, but through transmission, you're going to be receiving information that's going to support and perhaps touch you deeply in places in your energy system where you may need it the most. I pray that as we arrive here in this container, that there's a beautiful sphere of grace that surrounds us, that we're held in divine energy, we're held with our angels, our spirit guides, our divine protectors. I pray that my connection is open to grace and that I'm receiving light through my crown, through my central channel, and into the earth. And I'll share that practice with you. And so we'll just invite here that our bodies are filled with light. Light surrounds us, and that we are guided and protected from the center of our being and our hearts. I pray for a blessed call today. Thank you, God. So be it, and so it is.
Mm. Well, thank you for that beautiful resetting of our intention and field. I feel much more open. I'm sure others do as well. Well, let's
Good.
begin with a little bit of context. So today was a lot about helping to turn oversensitivity into an intuitive healing gift in many ways, or what people sometimes think of as oversensitivity. So maybe share a little bit about your own experience with that and how you began to kind of reframe and turn that around into a gift.
Yeah, so intuitive, it's interesting because I grew up very, very sensitive, also very empathic as a child. I didn't know this. There weren't that terminology wasn't there for me at the time. But I was definitely raised, I was the oldest girl of 8 kids in my family, big, loud Italian Catholic family, lots of, food and yelling and talking with your hands, yelling and screaming, and there were beautiful things about that. And there was also me being a sensitive being, trying to negotiate space with other people's energy. And I didn't do that well. And I ended up having panic attacks, and it accelerated throughout my adolescence and into my teenage years. And by the time I was 19 years old, I had a nervous breakdown, and it was completely from energetic overwhelm on all levels. My circuits were fried. And out of that, I had this deep call from within, which is interesting because our sensitivities are always pointing to a part of us that actually needs to strengthen. So all the while, I was having this deep call from within to move out of I was in Boston at the time in college, and I was to leave there and move to Colorado and find my teacher or develop this gift that I didn't know anything about. I didn't know it was a gift. It was certainly a curse at the time. But I ended up finding a teacher. I had a big divine intervention and was guided to find this teacher in Colorado, in Boulder. And I ended up studying with her for a couple years. And she helped me name what I was going through and give me structure and framework on how to really address healing in my body and how to clear energy in my system so that I can start working with this what I thought was a curse as a gift, my empathic nature. And so I studied with her for 2 years. And then back then there was no social media. This was very early 90s. So when she left, she moved, and then I was sort of left on my own. And I just found my own downloads. I was receiving guidance. I had major transmissions happening, and started on the path of just seeking more learning, education. A lot I found in the roots of yoga, but I was also doing healing work. And so by the time I was 30, I had over 500 clients, all from word of mouth, just because my gift was developing as I was, basically transforming this, taking on the energy of others to learning how to be of service with it. So that's actually a lot of that I'm going to go more in depth with in the call today.
Well, it certainly gives you another layer of credibility, knowing what you've gone through, like actual breakdown to get to the point where you could become a teacher of this process. And I know that most people haven't gone through as dramatic an episode, but there is probably a subtle way that most people who have been drawn to today's call have experienced some difficulties with taking on other people's energy, feeling overwhelmed, depressed, by things that are happening around them. So let's start with what are the first steps to begin to shift that and begin to clean up your energy system, clear out what is not yours, and reestablish the boundaries that you need?
Yeah. So the first thing actually is to define empath and what an empath really is. So there's a lot of talk about empath coinciding with taking on the energy of others. That if I'm an empath, I take on the energy of others, and that's what empaths do. And that's actually not true. That's not really the definition of empath. An empath is somebody who feels the energy of others or feels emotions or the mental energy of other people. That's what and their environment. So that's what an empath does. But where the confusion is when someone goes from being an empath to overly empathic. So that switch from empath to overly empathic goes back to our deep conditioning and programming in the energetic system, really specifically in the energy body around the root chakra and our developmental years of 0 to 7 years old. And so what happens here is that when somebody is raised in an environment where they are not feeling the sense of belonging or grounding in their body or a sense of safety, the root chakra will end up contracting. And when the root chakra contracts, then the individual, the soul, the person, or in this case, the child, goes into hypervigilance. And when that action happens in the body, the contraction in the root, we lose ground, we lose the ability to connect to self in the lower body and that sense of belonging. And at that point, that hypervigilance becomes a default survival mechanism in the world. So now I have to pay attention to what's going on around me in order for me to survive in this, in this environment. So the empath, the empath then at this point is now struggling with being overly empathic and hypervigilant. Well, when we age and develop in that way, what happens is the energy system now has a conditioning in it. And the conditioning is that I am susceptible to absorbing the energy around me because that is normal to my upbringing. That's normal to my inner child or my inner state. And when that contraction happens, the other important part is that the soul will actually either move back or lift up in the body. It actually won't be grounded in the root chakra. It's going to sit a little higher or it's going to move back.
So Wendy, let me just jump in there, and I want to highlight this. First of all, an intriguing observation, and I imagine that comes from your psychic perception. The soul actually anchors into the root chakra, and so if there's a disconnect there, if our soul starts to move out of that, then we're kind of like just not ever in right relationship with the material plane or something.
That's a great way of saying it. Yes. Absolutely. So in that, the root chakra is about our safety, our survival, our trust, our ability to take care of ourselves, to feed ourselves, nourish our body. It's our finances. It's how we anchor here on this earth. But what can happen is that when in the energetic system, the soul can be very high functioning in the upper power centers. And that's a wonderful compensation that the body does, the energy body does when a chakra is contracted. In this case, I'm using first person just for example, if I am raised in an environment or I come into this world feeling like I don't belong here, I don't belong in this family, I don't belong in this body, my root chakra is going to carry a programming about that. It's going to carry the belief system, but it's also going to not be open enough to receive the prana from the world, from the ground, from the earth. So I'm not going to necessarily feel like I can fully relax on a deep, deep subconscious level in my system and connect. And the result of that is I'm not feeling the power of trust and safety, which is what I need as an empathic being to hold my center.
So it sounds like you really have to re-inhabit the first chakra for this to not become overly empathetic, to harness the gifts of the empath is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because once the spirit starts to move out, once we start to not necessarily sit, like you said, in right relationship in our center, we're not well, let me back up to say this. When we are in our center and grounded in our body, we are radiating out. We're radiating our power, our light, our strength. Life force is flowing through our central channel. We're grounded through the earth. We're radiating. And in that case, we're not necessarily absorbing, because what comes with that radiance is a sense of presence and self and confidence and connection between our soul and the divine, and connection in the world, feeling comfortable in self. But when we have been negotiating space with other people's energy for chronically, for a lifetime, it's very possible that the soul can be a little bit out of center, a little bit left or right or behind of center. And that once we create space in the body in that way, we leave a vacancy. And when we leave that vacancy, it becomes susceptibility for absorbing the energy of other people.
It's great. Like
we
it's
just
like
take
nature,
it in.
a vacuum. So you kind of pulling it in. And so I think so probably what it sounds like happens is then you're just, even if consciously you're trying to set boundaries or maintain distance, you're just kind of subconsciously pulling that energy towards you.
Right. Yes, exactly. It's just energy. Because in some ways, the person whoever's energy it is, there's a gift in it, and the gift is that they are triggering you or me. If it was first person here example, they're triggering me to notice that I'm not in my center, that I'm not in my power. That energy fills vacancies. If there's emptiness, something will come into that space. If we're not in our power radiating out, something else will take up in that space there. And that's what happens with absorbing with empaths, is that it's not even about the upper body. It actually has everything to do with what's happening in the root chakra in terms of grounding and being connected and safe and grounded there. And the second chakra and the third chakra, both of those power centers in the body are empathic power centers. They feel everything that's going on in the energy in the world around them. They feel the under the table type energy. And that's the job. The job of the second chakra is to feel the things that are beneath the surface. And so an empath who has to learn how to survive in the world by being hyper vigilant in that way is going to be high functioning up here, very intentional in the upper body. But when it comes to the lower body, if there isn't a sense of belonging and I can be grounded and rooted here, then that area of the body is going to have a mind of its own. That area of the body is just going to start absorbing everything that's going on because self isn't in there. Self isn't powerful there.
Well, what's interesting about what you're saying is that a lot of the spiritual systems and traditions we've inherited are very ascent oriented. And so a lot of spiritual practice can actually exaggerate exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, and I'm for all, as something for everybody, but I'll say this is that in my experience, we will continue to evolve up the chakra system. We will do that as we age, more opening and I mean, ideally, really, we move towards death. The death is an exit through the crown chakra. That's the final, opening of the chakra system at the very end. So as we age, we evolve up the chakras. But what's happening, I am noticing, is that the world is really asking for, and this is why I think this is so important right now, is that we have a very traumatized planet right now. It is a traumatized place to be, and I'm making a generalization because it can't be everywhere for everybody, but it's big here, and there's a lot of energy to work with, and those who are spiritually evolving and working on ourselves, it's not about disconnecting from self. It's actually, how am I going to be in my body in a powerful way and have impact and a footprint and a presence here on this earth? And so part of that work is that we have to be okay with starting to release some of the karmic energy that we're carrying in these first three power centers. Because a lot of the programming that we carry in the first, second, and third chakras may not have to do with this life that you were raised in. It might be energy you came into this world with, but we're clearing paradigms. I mean, the whole world is changing around leadership and around, the feminine role in leadership. And this is people shedding decades, shedding layers. And this is the work that is needed to be done in order for us to embody and to fit in our bodies energetically and to have power and presence. And I'll tell you that this ascension model, the upper chakras actually do open up more when we're able to ground more powerfully in our lower body. I mean, they can certainly open up not being grounded, but the side effect of that is that we could, there's like a very thin gray line between highly, highly psychic and highly, highly, in psychosis. I mean, there's just a thin line there. And so it's just very important that we do consider, when we're thinking about the energy system and intuition and empathic intuition, that we're considering the whole body. And spiritual growth, that we're considering the whole energy system. And I'm just a big proponent of healing and grounding in the root chakra as foundation in order for the rest of the tree to evolve in a healthy way.
Beautiful. Well, so let's talk a little bit more about, so there's the grounding in your own energy and lower chakras, which is really foundational. Then how do you then engage other people's energy from that stance?
So first off, there are a few tools that I want to offer in support of being able to center self around anybody's energy. First and foremost is always going to be your grounding element, your grounding cord, and your downward force of prana. And that's specifically pertaining to your root chakra and your hips and your legs. So from the upper body, we can rise tall, stand tall, but the lower body has an energetic action called apanavayu, and it's this downward flow of prana. And if we can engage the grounding cord just through a visualization of imagining that this beam of light or this tree trunk is nice and snug around your hips, and it goes down deep through the layers of the earth, and that it connects you to being centered and grounded and connected to yourself. That's number one, is to ground your body. You can even feel your feet on the ground and just making that earth connection. And so allowing that downward flow, that's important because that invites our soul to take a deep seat inside ourselves. Then the next step is to identify your center. And your center is, from my perspective, and this perspective, is your central channel. So it's in the center of your body. You have this beautiful pillar of light, this central channel in your body, and that you are holding that central channel. But here's how you can connect with that. We live very forward in our energy system. We're very forward focused. If we can lean back into a waterfall of light or lean back into the awareness of the back body, we are starting to balance the front and back bodies in the central channel. So we'll be able to feel the front and back side. Because the front side of us, if we're too much in the front of our body, we will get into other people's energy fields. We just will, because there's just not enough source through our backside to keep us balanced. So our energy centers will just start picking up and soaking up everything in front of us. So it's important to lean back and start engaging connection and a flow of grace through your back body. And this will start to help you feel centered. So that's the second one. And the third one is actually giving people back their energy. So how you can do that is we can do it just in those three examples. You're grounded, you're feeling your feet on the ground, you're leaning back into your pillar of light, this waterfall of light, you're feeling your central channel. You might want to spend a lot of time there feeling that. And then you take some deep breaths and start to visualize or feel that everybody who you have taken in to your day or your life, old, new, yesterday, tomorrow, you're sending everybody back to themselves with blessings. Just thank you, but this is your energy. You're taking it back. I'm giving it back to you. And you call your energy back. I'm pulling my energy back from anywhere I have given my energy away. Wherever I've left pieces of myself, I'm pulling those parts of me back into my system. And you pull that back into your center, your central channel that becomes your marker, your anchor for the center of your being. So those are ways that you can take care of yourself and clear your own energy if you are if you're feeling like you're absorbing the energy of others. I do have a fourth bonus one, Stephen, if I can
Sure.
add that. Okay. So the fourth one is, I thought of this as an aftermath when right before the call, and it's that we clear the air around us. And clearing the air has several different connotations to it. One is physically clearing the air, like cleaning your space. Saging, if you have a sage wand and burn sage and understand, know how to smudge, you can even look that up online, how to smudge a space, or you can pray into a space, you can light a candle, you can open windows, you can have essential oils or a mister, some way clearing your space and getting rid of energy in your home and in your environment that doesn't serve you. Dead energy will attract I'll call it unclaimed energy. So it doesn't have to be negative, but it can kind of deaden your space, and that affects your energy body. The other aspect of clearing the air is literally for an empath. This goes back to being a child in an environment where you're not sure what you're feeling. Part of an empathic child in their early childhood development is that they learn that it's important for me to absorb the energy of others so that I know how to navigate, mom and dad and sister and brother and anyone else. But what the child is left with is confusion as to whose energy is whose. And that can stay with an empath for a very long time, the confusion of whose energy is whose. So part of clearing the air is vocal boundaries. I'm not understanding what you're saying. Could you please clarify? I think I heard you say this. Is that what you meant? Could you please clarify? Or, wow, I'm really feeling this way. I'm really feeling anger right now. I'm really feeling grief right now. I'm really feeling shame. Just to name a feeling is actually a very powerful action for an empathic intuitive. And it doesn't mean you have to fix the problem. It doesn't mean that, you have to make it better. Actually, sometimes just naming it actually shifts the energy and helps you feel more, wow, I just needed to say that. I just needed to identify this is the feeling I'm feeling. And that is a very powerful ownership of feelings for the empathic intuitive, is owning the feeling that you're feeling. Otherwise, the empathic is left feeling everything.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because if part of the naming of something is you're crystallizing a recognition, and of whose is whose, then you're addressing the problem regardless of whether anybody receives that well or does something different on their side. Is that it's like it's like vipassana, how you're noticing different feelings, you're noticing the energy patterns and feelings moving through, and then that helps to actually contain them and work with them in a different way. That makes a lot of sense. I've never heard anybody talk about it that way.
Absolutely. That's a great, I like how you put that, together with the Vipassana too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, I know that we want to be super practical with today's call. So I think today, like now would be a good time to really guide people in a direct practice that then they can bring forward from today and use. You know, you described it in some detail, but let's actually take some minutes and go in with you.
That sounds great. So the intention here, I'm going to guide you through what the steps that I just gave and give you a meditation that you can do at any time. And it can happen. It's nice to do it sort of regularly so that your system is trained essentially in how to hold center. But it's also great to do when you are in the middle of energy you're not understanding, or if you need to repair from feeling, being in a situation where you feel like you just walked away taking a bunch of energy into your system. So we'll go ahead and close your eyes and you can settle into your body, feeling your grounding cord very strong and connected. And by strong and connected, what I like to imagine for myself is that there's this grounding cord, and it's like maybe a pair of pants that are snug around the hips and the low belly and the tailbone and the low spine. And just for the sake of safety and feeling comfortable in your body, see if you can hike that grounding cord up a little bit higher to your waistline. And then you're going to extend the bottom of the pillar. You can even see it as a tree trunk if that helps. You're going to let it extend deep, deep, deep down into the earth and allow it to sprout roots into the planet. Good. And then from there, as you're breathing, you're going to let yourself take a deep seat into your lower chakras, into your sit bones and your tailbone and your pelvic bowl. And then visualize here that you have a beautiful central channel from the crown of your head down to the pelvic floor. And that it is filled with light, the light of your soul and the light of the divine. And then we'll add to that a flow of grace or a waterfall of light. And that waterfall of light, I'll have you imagine leaning back into it right now. So I'm going to start to activate your back body by letting that waterfall of light flow through your back. Just take some deep breaths, let any tension go, any stress, any unwanted energy. You're going to start to even out the energy between your front body and your back body. So maybe some of your front body pulls in to your center. So you're hugging your midline. Good. And then we'll let the waterfall flow over the front of your body, so the front side, so you're washing off the front side of your body too. Good, and you can be there as long as you want to. When you do this on your own, you can just keep allowing the water to flow, the light to flow, clear your energy. From here, we're going to take it another step where we're going to send everybody back to themselves who you may be subconsciously or consciously holding in your energy system. You might be taking care of them energetically. You may not know, the little consciousness, the inner child may not know it's okay to have yourself, but it is. It's okay for you to be in your power centers in your body. We're going to send everybody back to themselves from all directions with blessings. May everybody go back to their own energy. May the support of the angels and guides direct them, guide them, and support them in receiving their energy back. And then you are going to call your energy back into your body. And letting everybody else go. And you're bringing yourself back into your body. Good. And now as you bring yourself back into your body, you're going to start to increase the light and power in your first, second, and third chakras. So just feel more. So first chakra is at the tailbone. It's a ruby red power center. Second chakra is in the pelvis. It's a beautiful orange. Third chakra is at the solar plexus. It's a bright yellow. So just allow those power centers to be strong and spherical, so in the shape of circles, or however you see them, but that they're full. And there's presence. And so imagine holding your center now as light pours into you from the crown of your head. You're holding your central channel and the fullness in your lower power centers. And you're radiating out here a sense of presence, a sense of occupying my space. I am here. And that I am here has this gentle no to absorbing energy that isn't serving you, but it has a vibrancy of love and a yes to light and to self. And there's a way in this, when you say yes to self and carry this presence in your body, you're able to have empathy for others without your lower power centers absorbing their energy in. So holding that sense of presence and radiance. And then we'll complete here with a beautiful, as you're radiating out, a beautiful gold light around the outside of your energy field, which then brightens the natural purple light of the outer auric field all the way around your body. So you can stay safe and protected and radiant. Give thanks for this opportunity to be of service. I pray that you are held in this light of grace and that this meditation supports you deeply. Thank you, God. So be it, and so it is.
Well, thank you. That was really beautiful.
Yes.
And I just want to call out a few things that I'm just noticing or bringing awareness to. Is this? I love how you really, this process of releasing other people's energy is with blessing too. There's not a negativity, because sometimes there can be, in thinking about clearing energy, feels a defensiveness or like a get it out kind of energy. And I love the clarity of this, kind of the sweet neutrality of just like blessing it back. And then also the reciprocity, I thought was really interesting. I think we focused more on taking on other people's energy, but the other side of that equation of calling our own energy back in is part of the kind of the cleanse, like the reestablishing. And I think that's a part that often people forget.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this meditation, it's a nice, it's a good, I feel like maybe it was a quick one and you could spend a long time in any aspect of that, giving people their energy back and pulling it back in. And I know there are times when it can really feel like, wow, I really need to give this person's energy back or get it out of me. But I'll add to that is that they are teaching us where we're not stepped in. So in that way, it's a gift. They're challenging us to step more fully into our power in ourselves as empaths, as sensitive beings.
That's nice. I like that, because through the reframing of the teaching of it, then it's like it's easier to let it go rather than resent it. In a way, if like we're kind of in a negative relationship with it, we're part of us is still a little stuck in it as well.
Yeah, it's a practice. I mean, we're learning how to be empathic in the world. And some of this is, again, the empath can have their center and their ability to feel what's going on around them, but have that awareness of, wait, my energy field begins here and ends here. This is as far as I can take this in. And we get to have ownership over that in our system. And there are going to be plenty of things in life that'll touch us in a beautiful way that you do want to take in. But it usually comes to the, to the pain stuff that we want to have empathy for, but allow the other person to have their energy. Part of that is also being okay with them having the emotion. It's okay for you to have that anger. I can still stay in my body around that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. And it feels like there's part of this is also reformulating exactly what does relationship look like? Because if we've been used to thinking of relationship as we're bonded through an exchange, a kind of codependence, then we have to have this new kind of relationship where you're not codependent, you're not interpenetrating with somebody, but you're sharing and exchanging and blessing, but you're also very much in your own sovereignty and your own energy.
Yeah. And as you said that, I thought the key word for that sovereignty is the key phrase is, what do I need? What do I need right now? Is checking in with our own needs, because the empathic intuitive, someone who's empathic, an empath isn't always connected to their needs. They're used to tending to everyone else's needs or making sure the other's needs are okay. And then I know how to negotiate myself according to what the other person needs. That's common. But to break that sort of codependent merging that you just were describing, it is what do I need in this situation? It's a very powerful question.
It connects back to what you were saying before about naming the feelings that are coming up and questioning those. I'm feeling this. And so that sort of like helps to turn the attention back down into what is the need that's underneath, rather than just the feeling and it's happening in the space too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's really, I love how sophisticated you are with this. And, from clearing the energy fields around us so that we've got a better environment, that we're not taking on, attracting denser energies, to this kind of like, blessing and releasing and recalibrating and being in our lower chakras as well. That's feels like a really important, there's a lot of very key points that you've articulated here. I want to talk about your upcoming program, but anything before we do that, just that you feel like teaching points that you wanted to make sure people get today?
Well, you know what? I just thought of one thing as you were saying this, is that coming back to where somebody might feel that they've taken on so much and it might hit the overwhelm place with their energy or with overabsorption, is that sometimes anger is a good thing. Anger is a human emotion. It's not a negative emotion to have. But expressing anger, if there's I've got to get this out, or I've got to push this out, and that's what my body wants to do, trust that, because that anger is an expansive emotion and it can be clarifying. It can be boundary setting. It can be pushing things back out when it feels like we've been taking too much impact in. So in that case, anger can be a very helpful emotion to feel, to give yourself permission to have that anger and stretch out and expand out and yell if you have to. It can be very helpful in that way. And I'd say for the empathic intuitive, your gift of your gift is speaking to you. Your intuitive sense is speaking to you. This is not a disabled or even victim place to be with your relationship with the universe or people. There are power centers in the body that need attention, especially in these first 3 power centers. And so that's the deeper work. Like that's where, Stephen will talk about the program, but that's where we are going to be going in the program, is this deeper sense of major clearing so that the soul can really sit and find power, perhaps for the first time ever in these power centers.
Great. Well, Wendy, you've covered a lot of ground here today. Before we talk about your upcoming program, I just would like to reiterate, what are the 3 steps again, so people can remember it when they're practicing at home?
Yes, absolutely. So actually, it's 3 steps plus the bonus. That was my personal add-in. So the first step is grounding and the downward flow of prana. So grounding cord and visualizing and feeling your lower chakras and your legs and your feet really making contact with the earth, and that releasing down feeling in the lower body. That's number 1. Number 2 is your center, the central channel in the body, which includes the back body. So starting to think about the flow of grace through your back body, and that the channel is, it's front and back, but we spend so much time in the front that what I'm offering here is to emphasize the backside of the body. That would help round out the channel in your body. So that's your center. And then number 3 is giving people back their energy, sending it back to them, you calling your energy back in. And when you do that, you strengthen your central channel and your lower power centers. You bring more of your prana, your life force back in to illuminate more presence in your lower body. And then my bonus point, number 4, was to clear the air in your environment and to clear the air verbally. So vocal boundaries, and when you need to clear something that is confusing for you. It's very important for the empath to feel clear, and you have a wonderful ability to be able to do that for yourself just by having the courage to say sometimes what might be difficult, but just clearing the air.
Great. Well, thank you for clarifying. It was great to actually have the succinct recap so we can really land that fully in our own bodies and practice. Well, I think this is the best time now to talk about your upcoming 7-week program. And we're very excited about this because it feels like such important medicine for so many people who are going through a process of awakening and transformation and really need to do this energetic clearing and grounding work so that we can be bright lights, lighting the pathway to a new future, so that we can be healers in our community, so that we can help to transform some of these wounded situations in our world, which really are, there's a lot of trauma right now, and that it is all of our calling to help to play a role, but we can't do that if we're still enacting some of these patterns we've talked about. So the program is called Energy Training for Empaths: How to Clear Energy, Set Boundaries, and Ground in Your Intuitive Powers. And it really builds from what we're talking about today. It's for people who are naturally more empathetic, and that we want to harness the gifts from that and really get the higher benefits of it and really find the greater service in it. And so you can find the course described at empathenergytraining.com, empathenergytraining.com. It's going to be a 7-week program. There's no prerequisites for this. So you just really need to be on a sincere path of personal growth and spiritual inquiry. It helps to be more aware of some of the energy centers, but you can really follow right along from wherever you are beginning. And so I'd love for you, in your own words, Wendy, to talk about what people are going to get by taking this journey with you, and the benefits as a result of it.
Absolutely. So whether you have been working if you've been on the path for a long time, you've been working through your chakra system, clearing energy, clearing blocks, clearing traumas, or you've been in a previous shift course of mine, this program is a deep dive specifically into empathic training. And so what that is that we have to, within our energy system, we have to go in and reparent aspects of our consciousness. And how I teach is through, this partial lecture format and deep guided healings. So you'll be taken into guided healing experiences, their journeys into your lower chakras and into consciousness that's held there that may need to be cleared or may need to be reparented or transformed in some way in that area of your body, so that you are starting to build a different relationship with your energy system. And this training is very specifically working with anchoring the soul in the body and finding power so that your system can hold appropriate boundaries around the energy around you, but also that you may get in touch with your own intuitive ability. So it's not seeing your empathic nature not as a problem or a curse, but seeing it as a blessing and as a powerful way that you may actually be a leader in your area, or you may be a loving support or a pillar of grace and light in your community. So it's you becoming clear and cleansed as a vessel, and also living more connected to the power in your body. We are actually going to work with some of the upper chakras too. And as I said earlier, as we ground and shift our relationship in our lower body, and we create safety in our lower energy system to feel anchored there, new changes start to open up in the upper chakras. The upper chakras open up gracefully when we feel safe in the body. And so I'll be guiding you through that process as well.
So Wendy, there's so much in this upcoming training, and I'd love for you to take us on a tour of the modules and what people can expect, so that, empaths out there can really come out transformed and open to a new possibility for being. And again, you can find all the detail on this at empathenergytraining.com.
Yes, absolutely. So module 1 is on being an empath and what that means. And we go in extensively into the energy system and help you understand the relationship and what's happening in your lower chakras. So we did a highlight here, but I'm going to go deeper into what's actually happening in the first, second, and third chakras as it relates to your energetic empathic relationship with other people in the world. Module 2 is on the root of your empathic nature. So we're going to talk about the core beliefs that you're holding in your root chakra, and we're going to talk about trust in your body and release deep subconscious fears held there in the root chakra. This is going to support your soul to sit more powerfully and connect to your earth element and start sourcing it more. Module 3 is rediscover and reset your emotional center. So there's a lot of messiness that happens in the second chakra with empathic intuition. We get murky, there's codependency, we lose self, there's a lot of courting in and out, a lot of held emotions. We are going to clear and cut cords and release energy that's held in the second chakra area of the body and help you find emotional center in that area of the body. Module 4 is on cutting cords and detoxing your solar plexus. So the solar plexus power center compensates for the root chakra being closed. The solar plexus needs major clearing and detoxing, because what it does is it starts to open up and help you navigate in the world by looking for energy to absorb in and feed self. It's a negative pattern that happens, but we're going to work with that and detox the energy, again, cut negative cords and detox the body. So there's a lot of detoxing going on in the first 3 chakras that you'll be going through. Module 5 is on energetic overwhelm as a spiritual symptom of awakening, of spiritual awakening. So the energetic overwhelm happens when our heart chakra is imbalanced, basically, is that there isn't enough spiritual source coming through the body, through the heart area, to allow for yourself to be centered and to be in right relationship with your calling in the world. And so we're going to be working with really what you're called to as an empath. And then module 6 is on speaking your truth and setting vocal boundaries. Similar what we're talking about with clearing the air. There's a relationship between the throat chakra and the second chakra, in that when there's second chakra blockage or overwhelm, there's usually throat chakra as well. And so we're going to be working with clearing and releasing in the throat whatever has been held onto in the muscles, in the jaw, in the ears, in the back of the throat. And what needs to be released up and out. So we'll be working with energy clearing there. And then 7th module is to stop making assumptions and make space for ascension. So it's about not presuming what other people are thinking, or getting into their space, or over analyzing, over critiquing, or over empathizing, and creating more awareness of self and sense of self, making more space for your spiritual ascension and growth. So those are the 7 modules of the program.
It's absolutely fascinating, and I love the precision in the way you teach about these subjects. It's really clear you know this terrain so well. You understand the energetic anatomy and the practices that can really shift things. So it really is going to be such a blessing particularly for anybody who's struggled with their empathetic qualities and have been taking on energy of other people. This is really going to be a life-changing course for them. So again, you can find all the details on this at empathenergytraining.com, empathenergytraining.com. This is going to be a video course, so you get to have that extra boost of connection with Wendy. There's going to be 7 90-minute class sessions. You get video recordings and audio recordings and transcripts from every single one of them. There's a small group time at the end of each class session. There's Facebook community. There's all kinds of ways that you can practice at home. And there's also some extra bonuses too. So I'll just give a quick tour of those. There's one from Wendy called Guided Healing on Connecting to Your Inner Child. As she mentioned, that the 0 to 7 age span is really central for the kind of disconnection from the lower chakras that is often behind oversensitivity. And so that's a great recording that complements the key teachings in the course. She also has a guided grounding meditation to deepen the practices like what we just did with her today, and an audio teaching called Are You an Empath? How to Stop Taking on the Energy of Others. And also, I should bring attention to one other bonus, which is a special bonus that we like to do right when we launch a new program in celebration of that, and also as a way to encourage you to go to the page at empathenergytraining.com and give it a read, tune in, and if your body's saying yes, because you can get good medicine from this program, then you have an incentive to go for it. So this is called Clearing Blocks to Your Higher Guidance and Opening Up to It. So, Wendy, you want to share a little bit about the guided energy clearing for the higher guidance bonus, which is available today?
Yes. So this was a powerful training that I just gave not long ago, and it is It's a little different. It's a different subject than what we're covering in the empathic training, but many people who are empaths actually do feel spirit guides and angels. And this is a training in how to connect to your spirit guides and angels, and a couple practices on how to work with them, how to feel them, how to connect to them, how to see them. And so, and also some clearing work in the upper chakras, so that you can allow for more divine communication and connection with spirit guides and angels. So that is that bonus training.
Fantastic. Well, it's a great training, really important medicine for a lot of people who are on a path of awakening and transformation, so that we can really be as clear and aligned and whole as we can be in engaging our lives. So we've kept the investment very accessible. It's just 3 payments of $109, or you can save 10% when you pay in full at $297. The course begins on July 11th, and it'll run on Wednesdays at noon Pacific time. Again, that's Wednesdays at noon Pacific time, but even if you can't make the live class, you can still get the full value by participating with the recordings and the practices and the community, and you can really get this. And with the video recordings and the transcripts, you can use this course for years to come to rekindle and refresh yourself as well. So I encourage you to go to the page at empathenergytraining.com, give it a read. There's raving testimonials from graduates of Wendy's other shift programs. She's really very practical, very precise in teaching you exactly how to work with energy systems in a way that opens up your highest potential and avoids some of the common pitfalls. So thank you, Wendy, for this time together. Anything that you still want to share with folks who are considering joining you for the 7-week empath energy training?
Yeah, the only last thing I would say is that, again, if you're somebody who has either done previous trainings with me, or you've been working with chakras for years and years in your energy system, there is such tremendous value in going in deeper with a different intention, with specific training in mind of how to reshift consciousness in this area of the body. And so that's the overall intention in the training itself. And so you will absolutely get something deeper out of this experience. You'll get something new, and I promise you it will be a very transformational experience, very deep work. So you'll get some powerful healing out of it.
Well, I'm sure that you are absolutely accurate in saying that, because I know you give your all to really bringing the information and practices that people can transform with. And so thank you for this very illuminating hour, and thank you for the upcoming energy training for empaths, which is such an important dose of medicine for so many. So thank you. And if you are called to go deeper, all of you out there, go to empathenergytraining.com. Again, that's empathenergytraining.com. And when you sign up by midnight tonight, you get the extra audio energy clearing called Clearing Blocks to Your Higher Guidance and Opening Up to It when you sign up by midnight tonight. So look forward to seeing many of you in the upcoming program. Thank you for joining us, regardless if you continue, and many blessings. And let's all go forth more clear, more aligned, centered. Blessings to you, Wendy, for your luminous teachings.
Thank you so much. Blessings to you too. Thank you.
All right. Bye now. Bye all. And again, empathenergytraining.com for the next steps.